Hi, I'm David Duncan. I'm a partner solutions architect at Amazon, and my job is effectively to look at how I can make people buy Red Hat solutions on top of AWS. And one of the things that I spend a lot of my time doing is experiencing FOMO about all of the artificial intelligence things that everybody gets to do while I'm trying to make things run on hardware. But this was an opportunity for me to kind of connect one of my hobbies, which is intraday trading, which I liken to, for my friends, I describe that as astrology, but for finance. And I wanted to give myself a little bit of an opportunity to kind of see how I could make that work as a collection of, with the collection of software that I feel like is nearest and dearest to my heart. And that is all of the things that, we work on together as a community, right? So I spend a lot of time with Fedora. I want to be able to do this kind of work on Fedora. I spend a lot of time with Podman and trying to make containers run in ways that I probably shouldn't, and then making solutions work in areas where I think is going to be to best service users who are going to make us all or keep us all employed, right? So this was a great place for me to pull these things together. So my goal was an investment committee, and I'm about to show you a workflow diagram that I just completely butchered. But the goal was to have a series of agents, to have those agents kind of communicate handoff to each other, if you would, right? A series of informations that they could use to create a goal of a trade execution, and then that would be output would be to all of the agents together to make a final selection of 3 top options every day for making a decision. It really looks like this in my code. And I'm not going to lie to you, I haven't gotten this to work, but a lot of the things that I've run into have been complications around like connecting data sources. So like having a real-time data source is a very complicated thing. Building out the communication strategy in between these started off with a very simple goal, which is like, this is a RAG, so from the perspective of a RAG, I want to have an S3 object that everyone can have access to, right? So now I've got a knowledge base. That knowledge base can be populated. The population of content in that knowledge base can grow. And then as this thing gets bigger and smarter, well, wiser, I guess is the way I would put that, just because it'll have more information. The goal is to make sure that each one of these agents can collectively communicate. And so the first decision I had to make was like, how am I going to do this? What am I going to use for prototyping agents? Well, I work at AWS. I have lots of options for API-based communications with agents, but that doesn't really help me in terms of like how I'm going to build my ecosystem. So creating a strategy for very quickly collecting the content together and deploying a model that I could then add more content to very quickly. The easiest answer for me was Fedora, like provision an instance of Fedora, install RamaLama on it, and then build in that context, right? So very quickly, this has become the way that I test and communicate with these structures. And the incorporation of a structure for collecting information through LangChain, actually right now, for information has become just like a series of RSS feeds, because scraping data is just kind of illegal and not something you do on corporate time. Not trying to speak to the slide, I really think quadlets are cool. And the whole concept around not having to have a full-fledged deployment of Kubernetes is a big draw for me. So that's another reason that I thought that this was a great fit, is that I don't always want to have more than one machine. And this takes a long time, right? Like, so from what I've kind of pulled together, this takes me a long time to put all of the agents together, and they don't necessarily fit on one machine unless I make them really slow. But this is okay. Right now, Dan's heard me say this, my analogy is to my robo-mower. Somebody asked me one time, how long does it take your robo-mower to mow the yard? And I said, I don't know, it's just done. So performance wasn't my plan, but my plan was to be able to shift this in a real way to any of the other platforms that anybody would expect if I was doing a deployment of single agents. And then the question was, how do I implement the communications in between those agents? Well, there's two different ways that I can do that, especially as I solidify those. The communication models in between agents through LangChain is the way that I've chosen to do that. Agent-to-agent protocol would be like super amazing for me, but that's kind of in the works. And so I'm looking forward to that. And these are effectively my goals with respect to Kubernetes. I'm not, in fact, doing any of the deep dive on the Kubernetes orchestration just yet, but that is definitely where I'm going. So the data access is really the big deal for me. And something that I've determined as a result of working on top of Amazon is that I think that using the OCI model for pulling down and having access to models is great, but it is a lot of network time. And I think that they should work more like a public data set. Like there should just be a snapshot out there in each one of the clouds that you can just pop open and say, okay, here's a volume. This volume contains everything that I need in the same archive format that I would have been using it before. And that would make my life a lot easier, and also save me a lot of money because I have to build big volumes in order to do this. And volumes are a monthly charge as opposed to an instance, which is a per second charge. So obviously that's orange dollars to me right now. So, but if I do this in my own account, that's going to be frustrating. So the LangChain gives me the API integration that I've explained is what I want for the communication in between the agents themselves. And it also gives me a soft place to land as I get closer and closer to having something that's more solidified. So as I decide to use just the model with the RAG, I have a place to land that's outside of my prototyping environment, which is the RamaLama. Memory management to me right now is making a bigger instance, by the way. So with that, I think I've got about 5 minutes left. Do you want to hit me with questions, Dan?
Did you look at Llama Stack at all?
I haven't yet. Yeah. No. What makes you think that I might? Okay.
We're experimenting.
Not yet. No. No, I'm using Granite for the most part, and then Mistral just because I was doing some experimenting. But I've tried to keep this as open source as possible, right? That's been my my strongest goal. The early configurations I started doing on the API side and like thinking about how I was going to try and make this work, and that just became a nightmare of implementation and deployment. And so this has been like keeping myself focused on what's immediately available in the RamaLama stack has been a lot better for me in terms of like managing my space and being able to collectively deploy across a single instance in containers. Yes, Eric, I mean, this is the question I've been like scared to get. I'm just kidding.
There was one slide, because it's something I looked into, but I never really completed. Like, yeah, it was.
Here?
It doesn't matter anyway.
Okay.
Because it was just about S3, because it was something I looked at in terms of RamaLama before. There's kind of a sister project in Lama CPP that we don't use anymore. It was called Lama Run, but I actually integrated S3 pulling there in C++ basic. But I never ported it over to RamaLama. And
Is it worth it? I mean, do you think I could? Because I'll test it for you.
yeah, so we pull from Olama Hugging Face and Osera registries, as you probably know. And
Yeah.
another kind of Chinese hugging face called Model Scope.
Uh-huh.
But we would totally accept contributions that pull from S3 as well. Like,
All right.
that was kind of, I just never got around to it. But it was something I looked at.
Great. Yeah. This really, literally is right. Like, I want to hand off in this exact thing, and then I want to completely confuse everything that is contained with an investment discussion.
When you're successful with this, whenever you have to do it,
Yeah. Yeah. Like all those other traders that you know about. Yes, sir.
The question that you briefly mentioned is something about data sources, but I didn't get quite that.
Oh my gosh. So there are a bunch of places to get it from, and one of the places that I went like immediately was to Schwab, right? So Schwab has a really nice API. It's super easy to integrate with, and it was the first one that I thought, this is what I'm going to do. Well, that was really complicated, and then the second thing that I thought would be great for that would be pulling, because I could pull actual data, like real-time data, but I can't. I'm using YP Finance like everybody else. The reason that I can't is because there is an OAuth model that requires you to communicate at the local system, and like in Linux, it's complicated and it times out all the time, and so it made me use a different form. You made me use a different platform, and so I gave it up. But there's an MCP now that has been carefully worked on for a while, and I'm hopeful that that's going to help me establish a better connection. But YP Finance is where I'm getting most of my data, and then Polygon.io. But Polygon.io, if you don't pay for it, doesn't give me much data to work with, right? Like I've got 5 calls per 5 minutes, and then it's over.
So you're just going for sticker prices?
Right now, it's sticker prices, and then evaluating it based on moving averages. But then, like ultimately, I would like to be doing this on book and watching price action. That's my goal. Right now, I'm doing astrology.
Yeah, because it would be interesting, like if you're acquiring data about price, what prices specifically of like, whatever, I assume it's stocks mostly.
It is strictly stocks. I'm not doing bonds
So,
yet.
like,
Yeah, that's a whole nother onion.
Maybe incorporate something that could pull information from like news sources.
Well, so that's the RSS feed. So I'm using Reuters for an RSS feed right now, which is a very simple one and relatively cheap, like $50 gets you the whole year. And so that one is easy. The news source, like that news source is good. The YP Finance news source is good. Like I can get a relatively decent amount of news, and then I can do a sentiment analysis, which is basically like -1 to 1, but it's not much of a transition relative to the amount of relative to the way that it messes up systematic trading. If that
you need an MCP real-time from it.
this is really true. It's really true. If you want to know how market manipulation really works. All right. I'm out of time. I hope you guys had a good time, and